Hey, get off your phone. What are you doing over there? Take better notes. That's it. 12:45. 12:45. You all have 12:45. Just trying to stay in shape. All right, welcome back. I know this is a new process and a learning process for both of us. One thing we need to work on is attendance, and that is the word of the day. So let me show you the word of the day from the last video. Today's word of the day, pizza. Okay, so that's what it looks like. The word of the day was pizza, but not all of you selected pizza. I have 39 students in this class, but I only have 20-something views on YouTube. So somebody's not watching these videos. I'm going to find out. Anyway, no, seriously, what I need you to do is pay attention, get the word of the day correct. Starting next week, I'm going to crack down on that a little bit more. Look, of course, I'm going to be as flexible as possible with this situation, but I need you to watch the video and keep the learning up. Fair enough? Okay, let's get started with today. Okay, we're learning about the Incas. Who's the oldest known group of people in Mesoamerica? The Olmec. Perfect. But who are the three that we're learning about the most? Okay, the Aztec, perfect, the Mayan, and the Inca. Could you put all three of those on a map? Could you locate them? Which one is located in the Yucatan Peninsula? The Mayan, exactly. If I say which civilization is in modern day Mexico, they founded a city that was large and it was on a lake. What is that civilization? What is the name of that city? Perfect, exactly. The Aztecs, and that city is Tenochtitlan. Where is Tenochtitlan in relationship to Mexico City? They're basically the same place. All right, good enough. Good job. Okay, we're learning now. Awesome. And then we'll get into the mound builders in North America, and I'll talk to you why the mound builders, we'll just save it when we get there. Let's get rolling. Okay. What is a quipu string? It's a way of record keeping. It's almost, we write and we take for granted that that's how you are to communicate with other people. But they didn't have writing. They had these strings, and these strings meant things. We'll talk about it. What did the Inca build? Awesome roads. Real quick, who else built awesome roads? No, not that one. Hold on. Yes, the Romans. Excellent. Roman roads. Very good. And then we'll talk about the differences between the empires. Let's get going. Here are the Inca. Okay, different tribes. They're not all one. Okay, there's no merchants. They had what was called the Mita system. And that was sort of a tax, but on labor. So you would have to give a certain amount of time to the government, a certain amount of work. And that's how they would construct these roads and do other projects. Excellent. Okay, the government helped distribute goods. I'll leave that one alone for now. Let's keep going. They built this awesome place called Machu Picchu. Have you heard of Machu Picchu? Okay, we don't exactly know what Machu Picchu was for. A lot of archaeologists think it was a palace. Some think it was a fortress. So that's kind of up to you. You can take a look and decide. Let's look at these quipu strings.
The stone city of Machu Picchu is one of the most fascinating archaeological sites on the planet. Located northwest of Cusco, Peru, Machu Picchu is a testament to the power and ingenuity of the Inca people. During its prime, the Inca civilization stretched about 2,500 miles along South America's Pacific coastline, from modern-day Ecuador down into Chile. This distance is nearly the horizontal width of the continental United States. Machu Picchu, located at the center of this once expansive empire, is one of the few well-preserved remnants of the Inca civilization. Built around the mid-15th century, Machu Picchu is a stunning example of the Incas' engineering feats. The Inca constructed Machu Picchu's palaces, temples, terraces, and infrastructure using stone, and without the help of wheels or tools made of steel or iron. One particularly notable aspect of their construction is foregoing the use of mortar, a material often used to bind stones together. Nonetheless, the stones of Machu Picchu were cut so precisely that they snugly fit together. Located on two fault lines, Machu Picchu often experiences earthquakes, but because of the stone's exceptional cut and fit, they bounce during tremors and then are able to easily fall back into position. These engineering marvels have preserved Machu Picchu's remarkable condition for over 500 years. Machu Picchu's purpose is still a mystery to many archaeologists. Some theorize that it may have served as a ceremonial site, a military stronghold, or a retreat for nobility. The site's geographic layout may be significant in another way. Many of both the man-made and natural structures appear to align with astronomical events. But in the early 16th century, only about 100 years after it was built, Machu Picchu was abandoned. And since the Inca had no written language, no records exist to explain the exact purpose of the site.
Here's some different Inca artifacts. Take a look at those. Okay, here are the quipu strings. In the top right corner, you're seeing an actual quipu string. We'll watch a video about it in a minute. But the quipu strings, they say something, and I wish we were in class. We would have made a cookie recipe using quipu strings. We'd have tied different knots and have a certain one string represent chocolate chips, another string represents the butter and the flour and the milk or whatever. Not that they use quipu strings for chocolate chip cookies. It's just an example that you can communicate with knots on a rope. We don't think like that. We think you have to write stuff down. They didn't have written language. This is how they kept records. And so hold on, this is wild. We're going to look at these roads in a minute, and they're unbelievable. And so you've got these guys, they're incredibly intelligent. They're using their surveying and engineering skills to build these roads, and they're looking, I picture them looking at knots and, these knots, how many knots is this one? I'm not saying that's actually how they built the roads, but it's just interesting. They're incredibly intelligent, but they just didn't have writing. They had these knots, and they're called what? Quipu strings. Fantastic.
When you work with archaeological objects, you are like entering the world of your ancestors. I like to think that in a way they talk to us.
A quipu is an counting device made of cotton strings that use knots to represent numbers.
A quipu is the accountants of life. The quipus were made in Inca times by quipu camayocs.
The quipu camayocs, the only ones who were able to read it, died and didn't pass the knowledge to the next generations. There's a lot of questions still to get answered. My biggest hope for Incahuasi is to be able to excavate all the site. The quipus are very well preserved because the environment of the Peruvian coast is very arid, so you have a very good preservation of any organic remain. This must be 600 years old, and you can see the preservation is very well. We know that the numbers we found in the quipus are the counts of these products.
They have been buried for 600 years, and so what we do is the conservation. That means keep them clean and straight so the analyzer can come and study them.
I think this discovery will bring a better understanding of quipus and also in how the Incas dominate and control these local populations.
Many people say that because we had no writing, our culture was not developed, but we really have things like quipus that show that it was a very developed culture.
Every time is exciting because we are finding them in different contexts and in different situations, and different sizes, different shapes, colors, knots, so we can have a very big data of these quipus so we can compare them and get any kind of insight to see how to read them or how to understand them.
The first one, when you see them like really dirty as spaghetti, and then at the end, they're just like, take me a picture, they're so pretty. I think the quipus are grateful.
Right, welcome back. We need roads. Take a look at that bridge. You ready to go across it? Yeah, pretty awesome, right? Here are some Inca roads.
Hanging over the Apurimac River in southern Peru is one of the great engineering feats of the ancient world. The Incan road system was one of the great road systems of antiquity, second maybe only to the Roman road system. It covered 25,000 miles, was in use for over 400 years, and ran from Quito, Ecuador, down to Santiago, Chile. But to have a truly great road system, you need great bridges. And the Incans had a particular way of building bridges. They didn't build them out of metal or make them out of stone. They wove them from grass. There's only one remaining Incan bridge today. It's called the Quechua-Chaca. 300 years before Europe mastered the suspension bridge, the Inca were building bridges that were 150 feet long. When the Spanish first arrived in South America, they called them the devil's work and were so scared to cross them that they would crawl on their belly the entire way. It doesn't look like the sturdiest thing. In fact, the bridges are incredibly strong. An MIT professor had his students create one of these bridges out of twine and found that they could hold over 4,000 pounds of tension, or roughly about 56 people spaced evenly across a 60-foot span. There used to be hundreds of these bridges as part of the Incan road system. Each bridge was overseen by a bridge master. Among other things, the bridge master was responsible for maintaining the bridge, collecting tolls, and for helping people across when they had livestock or they needed some assistance. Today, the last Incan bridge, the Quechua-Chaca, is overseen by the last bridge master,
No kankane chakarua, chakakama.
a guy named Victoriano. I was lucky enough in 2010 to meet Victoriano, and he showed me how he goes about making a bridge. Now, this process is incredibly time consuming. They take this grass that grows abundantly all around, and they wet it with a little water, and they rub it together in their hands. And then they sort of slowly twist it into twine, weaving those together into larger ropes, which you can imagine how much time and effort it would take to basically weave what essentially is like hay into a cable that's, this wide around. Once a bridge has reached the end of its useful life, it will be either cut down and thrown into the river below, or with a little more pomp and circumstance, it'll be set on fire. And then a celebration is held, and it's also the chance to weave a new bridge. And each household is in fact responsible for 90 feet of woven rope. It's kind of an amazing idea, right? Like, instead of sort of making one monumental structure that's there forever and you kind of wait for it to fall down one day, they are in this constant process of renewal. Even though it's been there for 500 years, it's actually been 500 different bridges over that time. And it is this cyclical recreation, this reaffirming of that culture that makes it a real living, breathing piece of history. So, well, a new metal bridge has been installed just up the river from the Quechua-Chaca. It's still rewoven every year.
Okay, before the Europeans, the most advanced culture in North America was in which modern day country? What is the culture? What is the city? Look at the question. You can do it. Let's go. Exactly. It's Mexico. It's Mexico City. Back then, that was called Tenochtitlan. The Aztecs. Perfect. Most advanced culture was the Aztecs in Mexico. I think I covered it all with that information. Now let's get to the Southwest. We're going to talk about the Anasazi. It doesn't seem like a big deal. They're going to stop roaming. They're going to build houses. When you build houses, you change the game. Why? You tell me. Why will houses be such a huge deal?
Excellent.
Okay. If you had small tribes and you didn't get along, you can go one way, I can go the other way. But if we live together, we need rules. Who's going to enforce these rules? We need government. What if I stay up late? What if you like to wake up early? Now we need a curfew. We need rules. We have to live together. We need common standards, things like that. So when you build houses, this changes everything, okay? And we start getting a different type, a different level of society. If you're the first Indians in the United States or in North America, and we don't know much about you, what are you called? Paleo-Indians. The first people are called Paleo-Indians, okay? Then came the Archaic Indians. Don't worry about some of this. This is front-loading you for next year when you're in your Utah studies class. What are the three sisters? They are corn, beans, squash. If you are in the Southwest United States and you are a Native American, chances are you're growing corn, beans, and squash. This is what grows best out here, okay? Here are the mound builders. So why were they called the mound builders? They built mounds. I know, it's unbelievable. In the top right, you get the snake. In the bottom right, you get what's left over from their city. This is what I wanted to talk to you about. That I was getting tongue-tied earlier. Okay, mound builders. Look at the bottom left map. You've got guys at the top, the Canadian border, the top of Wisconsin, and they're building mounds. And then you go down to Florida, they're building mounds, and they're lumping all of these people together as mound builders. However, what shapes human geography? Physical geography. That deserves a ding, ding, ding. Okay, physical geography shapes human geography. If you're down in Florida, what are you good at? What kind of skills do you have? Catching alligator, perhaps. Fishing, things like that. If you're in the north, up there near Canada, what types of skills do you have there? Ability to stay warm, fur coat, starting fires, things like that. You're going to be totally different and have a totally different skill set if you're that far north versus that far south. The fact that you both build mounds is interesting, but I don't want you to get confused and think that they're one people. They would not have that much in common other than building mounds.
In 1491, the Americas, too, are a crowded and prosperous place, but in a very different way. The Andes cradled a vast empire ruled by powerful god kings. Mesoamerica is densely populated and home to the most impressive civilizations on the continent. The Atlantic coast is filled with smaller villages and fields. And along the great rivers, great cities are built around monumental plazas. It is an ancient world, inhabited by 100 million people. Hunters and gatherers, fishermen and farmers, kings, slaves and soldiers. Down among the trees, where the Missouri, Illinois, and Mississippi rivers merge, lies one of the largest civilizations on the continent. The native Mississippians are mound builders, occupying a vast region from the Great Lakes in the north to Florida in the south. The first explorers thought these great mounds were natural, carved by retreating glaciers. Now we know that they are the centerpieces of cities. Cities like Cahokia, busy trading posts of earth and wood, with populations of up to thousands of people. No one knows what they called themselves or what language they spoke. But we know why they were successful. These Mississippians are farmers. Their staple crop is fuel for the ever-growing population. It is a plant native to the Americas, unknown to the rest of the world.
Okay, today's word of the day is work. Okay, we need to work hard independently on our own. I can't be there looking over your shoulder. Every time you start a sentence, capital letter first. Every time you answer a question in a complete sentence. The word of the day is work. And what are you going to do? You're going to work hard. You're going to be your best. Fair enough? Awesome.